Make sure you guys smash that subscribe button if you guys are fans of the content being posted onto this channel to always be in the loop with more content similar to this, and be sure to hit the video up with a like if you're enjoying the content. And with that being said, let's begin. With Scream 5 looming over the horizon, scheduled to be released in January of 2022, many fans within the Scream and horror fandom are seemingly begging the question as to what kind of direction Scream 5 is going to be going in, considering the idea that Wes Craven had passed away and the overall narrative going forward with Ghostface as to what he or she may look like, and the narrative behind Sidney and what may happen to her is a driving force of conversation, as many people are suggesting that Scream 5 needs to introduce a narrative to where a major character is written off for good. As joining me here today to further discuss the concept of Dewey being written off from Scream is my good friend and YouTuber Mark and I. Now Mark, I think it's safe to say right now that in order for Scream 5 to be a success, there needs to be a different idea included to where the outcome isn't as predictable as the other Scream films. Now what do I mean by this? I think a lot of people, it's safe to say, that they're getting sick and tired of seeing Gale, Sidney, and Dewey walk away by the very end unscathed and basically the victors of the story. And I think that when looking at what Scream 1 was supposed to do, Wes Craven wanted to kill off Dewey, right? But considering how he grew for the character and he thought that he could stick very well, Dewey stuck around for several movies. Now I think that going forward, Ghostface needs to, I think in my opinion, kill off Dewey. Now what are your overall thoughts on Dewey as a character, if perhaps it would make sense, logical sense, to have Ghostface kind of insert a lot of damage onto our main characters by writing one of them off? And do you think that it would really impact the movie in a positive way to get the fans to say, wow, I wasn't expecting for that to happen, but I like the overall direction only because it's something different?
I think as these franchises go on, we're very, very attached to the survivors. And I think the three main ones, if I'm not mistaken, are Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, and Dewey Riley. Like, those are the three that stand out like the most, I think. I'm not sure who else is going to be in Scream 5 necessarily. I haven't looked it up, but I feel like it has to hurt. And I've heard talks that there is going to be Scream 6, at least up to that. And who knows? I mean, I feel like that probably will depend specifically on how well Scream 5 does, but there are plans to do at least 6. So if that's the case, it tells me the initial plan is most likely that Sidney Prescott won't die in the 5th one. Now, I think, again, a lot of the slasher movies hinge on who survives because that's the motivation, right? Like Laurie Strode is the beacon of survival in the Halloween franchise. Sidney Prescott is the beacon in Scream, etc. Like, you kill them off, it kind of leaves what's the point, you know? You end up stretching the plot to try and force that the killer is still active for some other reason when their primary goal is to kill the main survivor. So in this movie, if, for example, let's say they tried to kill Sidney Prescott and succeeded, would the killer continue on to kill Gale and Dewey? Probably not. Like, why risk it? They're going after Sidney the whole time. She is the center of it in every movie. So I don't know, after you've completed your objective, if they could really make logical sense out of the killer trying to kill those two. So if Sidney is going to live, then I think Dewey has to die. And I don't know exactly how you make that the most emotional, because at this point, like, we're 5 movies in, it's been 10 years since the last one, and I forget exactly in the 90s when the first Scream movie came out, but I think, let me double check and just see real fast because I am curious. Okay, so the first one came out in 96, then 97, right after that, 2000 for Scream 3, 2011 for Scream 4, and then 2022. I don't know how big the community is of Scream fans, but I think obviously there has to be enough of a market to make a 5th one. I know I'm excited about it, but I would say that at this point, like, there's been so much time in between the movies. However they choose to kill Dewey, I think it's long overdue. I think he deserved to die much sooner. I think he should have been killed in the 4th one. I think that would have been appropriate. Maybe he's just such a fan favorite that he has to live. But I would be disappointed if Sidney, Gale, and Dewey all walked away from this movie into a possible 6. That would bother me.
I think this needs to be different. I think that to establish the idea of this movie actually being something different by comparison to Scream 1, 2, 3, and 4, they need to, I think at least, write off a big-time character, only because I think that you would give a lot of recognition to the current Ghostface who's going to be going out and killing people. I think that it'll only establish then that this version of Ghostface, whoever it may be, is really out for business. And we know that the previous Ghostfaces were able to do that. We saw how they went on rampages, but I think this time, more or less, we need a smarter Ghostface. We need a more sinister and a more aggressive Ghostface, especially against Dewey, Gale, and Sidney, seeing as to how they're able to work so well together. In your opinion, what does Scream 5 need to do in order to be different and better than the other ones prior? Because I think by taking out Dewey, and that's only if you want to go into a direction where you're going to make a Scream 6 or a Scream 7, again, possibilities are seemingly endless, but I think in order to go into those movies, if you want to, then you need to start picking some people apart. You can't just have Ghostface losing every single movie. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think right now it sets itself apart just enough. Like, they're all in the slasher genre, but again, we're dealing with someone who doesn't have supernatural powers, and we're also dealing with a different killer each and every time, or more than one killer. Like, they mix it up. Like, we've had one killer, we've had two killers, we've had lovers, we've had family. Like, they're sort of, writing down a whole bunch of different relations and then, rolling their hand around the fishbowl and just pulling out a name and being like, okay, this is the killer for this one. How do we do it? So I think that's enough because, again, in the Scream franchise, you are afraid of what you don't know. You are afraid of who's under the mask because you don't know who to trust. You don't know in the movie who is doing what and why they are doing it. We don't know their motivations. And what we do know is that they're going to kill people. What we don't know is who they're going to kill. But we do know that they're going to try and kill Sidney Prescott. So I think for that, there's enough element in there that leaves it to the mystery, into the imagination throughout the first viewing, that leaves you guessing. Some things are more obvious than others, but ultimately you don't know until you know. So if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say is when you watch something like Friday the 13th, you know that it's Jason. Right? Like, we had one movie where it wasn't, and that was the first one because it was his mom, and then after that, it was Jason every time. We know that Freddy Krueger is always going to be the killer in The Nightmare on Elm Street. Maybe he's manipulating someone else, but ultimately, he is the puppet master. He is the one that is benefiting from the kills, and he is ultimately the one that is going to come out and continue on killing because of that. So we know what's going on with that. And the same thing with Michael Myers. We know who he's after. We know that he kills anyone that's in his way. He's unbiased. He will kill like anyone, children, adults, it doesn't matter your race, ethnicity, gender, sexuality, like religion, like none of that stuff matters. You're going to die if you're in his way for who he's trying to kill. With Ghostface, he is unique in that we don't know why he was wronged. Now, I guess it's sort of annoying that we've gotten 4 going into 5 movies where it's presumably a killer that is going to tackle trying to kill Sidney for the 5th and final time, which, like we said, probably isn't going to be the final time because 6 is planned. Like, there is a proposed 6th movie, and who knows what they are going to do after that. Now, that being said, I feel strongly that the movie has set itself apart, but what we have seen so far is such a mixed bag of killers, intentions, relations, the types of people that die. So we need to kill people that, God, that just sounds so horrible. People need to be killed that are very closely tied to the audience, okay? Not necessarily Sidney Prescott, but like, who do we love the most? Who do we care about the most? Dewey and Gale are probably up there among the best of them. So one or both of them need to be killed. But at the same time, if they're going to do that, they also need to bring in some other characters that we like a lot and kill them too. Like, I want to be moved. I want to feel that. Like, I don't want to just sit there again for, 96 to 120 minutes and watching some guy slaughtering a bunch of people in the same way as we've seen before when they're people we don't care about. Yeah, like every once in a while I root for seeing somebody being killed that I don't like. If it's that, a-hole jock or that's that jerk bully at school and they get killed, like, I'm not going to lie. I root for the killer in those moments. Like, I want to see that happen. I feel like that's a sort of a justice in some way for the moviegoer and the audience who's witnessing that. And as I've said, what I really want to see is I would like to see something along the lines of a cult, because at this point we've seen 1 and 2 killers. Like, what are they going to do? Are they just going to make it 3 killers this time, 4 killers, 5 killers? Like, I think it needs to be something much larger. For the 5th movie, I think they need to prove that Ghostface and his presence isn't just another copycat or a couple of copycats looking for notoriety or infamy. We need something bigger and beefier. We need purpose, we need reason, and it has to be big and broad. It can't be someone who was blindsided by Sidney, who maybe she accidentally stole their job or slept with their boyfriend or, something like that. It has to be bigger than that. It has to be much, much bigger this time. And so we talked about it before. I think ultimately what I would like to see, and again, I say this just for myself, what I would like to see would be if they do bring Stu back, because that is a possibility based on Matthew Lillard's no longer posted tweet. He deleted it, but him suggesting that Stu is alive, I would like to see him pulling the strings of a much larger group of killers. So that way when we get to the whodunit, you're going to be always partially right, because you could say it's, it's going to be Judy, or there's going to be John or Dave or Pete, but then what happens if it's all of them? What if in this movie Sidney realizes that she's never going to be safe? Something about her, she has to die for some reason because she's directly linked to a lot of people, and everyone in her life has been manipulating and playing a long con to get close to her, to set her up to be killed in a very specific way, maybe at a specific time, at a specific location, and so they're all pulling the strings for a much, much larger picture. I think that would be super interesting. And then Killer. I think that would be good, and then Killer, and then maybe down the road, if you want, you can do a different reimagining of Scream with different characters, because if you do it that way, it's like you're always changing who's underneath the mask. So there's a little bit more creative freedom there than there is with Michael or Freddy or Jason, because it's always going to be those killers. If the movie isn't one of those, it sort of is a letdown. That's bothersome. But with Scream, you know that it's going to be somebody different, and you don't know who the killer is until, that climactic moment in the movie. So that's what I would like to see, is my long-winded answer.
There are so many factors, I think, when looking at Scream. Like I said before, the fandom, right? The people in the comment section, the people on the forums, they are the ones that are voicing their concerns and their opinions, because, hey, people were doing this back in 97, bro, when, the first Scream movie came out. People were trying to look for, leaks, and they were just, the fandom is definitely rabid when it comes down to this franchise, only because they love it, they enjoy it, they want something different, and that's the only thing that I think a lot of us, including myself and you, are hoping for. So my final take is, I definitely think that someone needs to die. I'm sorry, if it is Dewey, then it's Dewey. If it's Gale, then it's Gale. I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below, because I'm going with Dewey. I think that there needs to be some established ground here in the fact that, holy crap, Ghostface now, he wasn't just bodied by the very end. He didn't just get outclassed, outsmarted by these individuals. No, he was the one that went as far as to take someone big out, and maybe by the end of Scream 5, instead of killing Ghostface, he ends up escaping, right? I think that they need to introduce a MCU Thanos-esque kind of introduction to Ghostface, where finally Ghostface wins. He doesn't have to kill Sidney, but he damaged her enough to say, you know what, I did what I did, and I'm going to be seeing you very, very soon. So I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below, guys, on the overall idea of either Dewey being written off or Gale. I don't think Sidney needs to die necessarily yet, if that's the plan, but I want to get your thoughts and feedback down below. Again, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for your time. If, of course, you guys enjoyed, then be sure to go ahead and smash that subscribe button, turn on all notifications, as well as giving this video a big fat thumbs up if you guys enjoyed. Support the channel. Daily discussions are coming. I want to thank you all so much for being here, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Also, follow Mark and I, and his social media links will be located down below. He loves horror, he loves Scream, so definitely give him a follow. Thank you all once more, and we'll check you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Peace.